If you're like most marketers, you've got information from a variety of systems, things like Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics, Marketo, Eloqua, ExactTarget. And it can be challenging to put all that information into a meaningful form. A lot of times you're going to be consuming information in spreadsheets or in multiple reports spread out on your desk. With Domo, we pull all that information together, allow you to see it all in one place. So here's an example of a marketing dashboard. And as I mentioned, information's coming from multiple sources, just like we have here. In fact, I've got information coming in from things like ExactTarget and Marketo and Eloqua right here, and yet I'm looking at it all on a single screen. So customer acquisition costs, leads by source, the number of sales qualified leads, or maybe even marketing ROI. Here I'm looking at attribution all the way through the model, so I can see how much I've spent, what that's converting into, and what my actual dollar return amount is. Whether I'm talking about search, banner, events, or even online events, all the information is presented to me in a single screen so that I can make sense of it and make decisions more quickly. Additionally, I can take information from multiple sources and put that together inside the same report. If you look at the second report here, I'm looking at site visits by date. This is information coming in from Adobe Analytics. Right next to that, I've got the number of campaign emails that were sent. This is information coming from ExactTarget. For most organizations, if I'm not using Domo, if I want to put this information together, I'm going to have to dump it into a database or combine it in a spreadsheet. But with Domo, I can simply combine those data sources, and you can see right here those two charts overlaid on top of each other. So now I can see the effectiveness for on any given day, the number of emails sent and the number of web hits that actually translated to right inside the same screen. With Domo, it's not just about consuming the information, it's also about connecting into the data that I need. Domo connects into hundreds of applications, things like ExactTarget, or Eloqua, or Facebook, or Magento. And with a single click, allows me to populate not just the data, but also pre-built dashboards. Here, for example, is an Adobe Analytics dashboard. By just providing my login to Adobe Analytics and a single click in Domo, I'm now looking at best practice metrics, things like returning visitors, daily unique visitors, the number of page views or the average visit duration. All this information at my fingertips and updated on a regular basis, so I always have the most current information to run the business more effectively. Domo also allows me to personalize the information to suit my particular needs, turning a regular dashboard into my dream dashboard. So for example, if I care about something like Facebook fan interaction, I can drag that over and maybe even make it bigger so that I get more detail every time I come into my dashboard. I can do this without impacting other users so that each of us in the organization can see exactly what we want to see in the way that we want to see it. Domo also allows me to build new views of this data very quickly without having to go to a 4-hour training class or ask someone else to build a report for me. With a couple of clicks, I can get access to the data that I'm looking for and then arrange it in a way that makes sense to me. So for example, if I want to look at some online retail data coming out of Eloqua, I can select the data source that I want. Domo will then present me with a screen where I can choose exactly what I want to look at and how I want to look at it. So in this particular case, I'd like to take a look at cost, and I want to see that broken out by, I don't know, let's say lead source. And now I have exactly the information I want to see, just the way that I want to see it. Now remember, with Domo, we're bringing in this information in from your various marketing systems on a regular basis. Maybe my Facebook data is coming in every hour. My Marketo data is coming in every 15 minutes, whatever the case might be. I can tell Domo, hey, keep an eye on the things that matter to me, what we call alerts, and then notify me if those particular conditions occur. So here I'm looking at 9 alerts that have triggered. These are 9 bells that have rung. One of them is around social media growth. I told Domo, hey, if across my social media sites, I get 50,000 or more visits in any given month, tell me about it. So here, Domo's let me know that we're up to 58,948. In addition to seeing it here on the screen, I'm also going to get an email and a text message, so I don't have to be logged into Domo at all to keep an eye on the business or keep a finger on the pulse of the business. And with a single click, I'm taken into the detailed view. So now I can understand not just what is going on, but also what's causing it. In this case, it looks like we've got a big spike in Facebook traffic and in Twitter traffic. Now, an important part of the organization isn't just the data, it's the conversations that go on around it. Things that already happen today with emails and phone calls and freakout meetings when there's a spike or a dip or some sort of anomaly in the data. Those kind of things we capture right inside of Domo, this thing that we call Domo Talk. If you look over here, there's a conversation going on between Levi and Betty. Levi's seen that exact same spike that I did. He's looking at the same alert that I was, and it turns out that this spike that we saw on Twitter was because a famous person, a popular celebrity, mentioned the product. And in this conversation, Levi and Betty have decided to create a new campaign to be able to capitalize on that information very quickly. Because remember, with Domo, we're getting access to the data in real time. So as opposed to looking at a report the next week, where it turns out there's something we could have done had we known about it sooner, in Domo, not only am I notified right away, but I can then have conversations with others. So it's taking that quantitative data and tying it together with that qualitative information for that holistic view. And it's important to note that I can start a new conversation at any time with everyone who has access to the report or with individual people or groups so that I can have private conversations, almost a virtual cone of silence, if you will. So in this case, I might say, hey Betty, let's chat when you get a chance. I have some ideas. When I send this message to Betty, not only will she see it inside of Domo, but she gets notified through email and text message. Hey, Chris is talking about you inside of social media growth. Here's what he said. Here's a link to the report. So that will drive Betty to look at the data, but if she doesn't need to, she can simply respond directly to that email or that text message and have that conversation show up right here inside of Domo Talk. With Domo, I get access to all the same information I get on my desktop right in the palm of my hand with Domo Mobile. Here I'm looking at the same metrics. I can have conversations with people just as I did before. In fact, look, Betty's responded to my comment telling me to drop by her office at 3. And if there's anything I want to see in more detail, with a single click, I can look at it both visually as well as the numbers behind the graphics themselves. With Domo, you can have access to all the information you need to run your marketing organization right at your fingertips.